This is the Nokia N8, the first Nokia device to run on Symbian 3. And this is also the last N-series Symbian flagship. So in order to combat iOS, Nokia had to develop Symbian 3, which was Symbian developed from the ground up to be touchscreen compatible. Now this was a big contrast compared to Symbian S60 version 5, which was on the N97 for example, which was more like traditional Symbian with a touchscreen wrapper on top. So let me walk you through some of the cool aspects about the Nokia N8 as well as some of the issues that were relevant for its time. So the first really cool aspect about the N8 is the hardware design. So this was one of the first Symbian flagships to be almost completely made out of anodized aluminum. So everything you see here, minus the bottom and the top edges, are actually made out of aluminum. And these were made out of plastic in order to maintain signal reception. And the build quality and the hardware is just superb. So this was one of the few touchscreen devices at the time which were practically indestructible, really. It also came in 5 colors, including this very striking green color, as well as a very nice orange and blue options, alongside the traditional silver and black. And later on it even got a pink edition as well as a brown edition. It also had a 3.5-inch AMOLED display, and it was the first Nokia device to have a capacitive touchscreen. Resistive touchscreens needed pressure in order to click on anything, while capacitive touchscreens just require a touch. It also had a notification light that was hidden inside the menu key, and it also had a breathing option where it would blink when you got notifications. It was also the first Nokia device to have a 12-megapixel camera with impressive sensor specs, and it really took amazing pictures for its time. The camera also had so many manual control options, and it really puts even some modern devices to shame. It also had xenon flash, which is a far superior flash option compared to LEDs that we're used to these days, and this helped it freeze objects in place. It was also the first Nokia phone that can capture HD 720p video, so you can see here video quality is high definition. The top also had a mini HDMI output, so you could connect a mini HDMI cable to this and then to a TV in order to display all the contents on a bigger screen. The N8 was also the first device to support USB on the go, so you could connect a dongle here that supports a USB, and then connect the USB directly to the device and then access all the folders of the USB on the device. It also integrated the loudspeaker in the camera bump, and the speaker was super loud. So the N8 that I have over here is actually running on Symbian Belle, which is the third update that came out to Symbian after Symbian 3 and then Symbian Anna. And Symbian Belle definitely helped improve the usability of Symbian. So here are some of the cool software quirks. You could change the position of the icons on the home screen anywhere you wanted, including out of the standard grid. You can have 2 different setups for icons on the home screen based on landscape or portrait mode. So if you go to landscape mode and move an icon around, it won't move in portrait mode, practically giving you 2 different setups based on the orientation of the device. You could set different backgrounds for different home screens, so you can fully customize every home screen to your liking. And it was in a carousel arrangement, so you can swipe endlessly and it will always revert back. Symbian was also super power efficient, so it barely used any battery in standby and even during usage, and it ran incredibly well even on weaker hardware. So the N8 didn't have top of the range specs at its time, but it was still quite competitive when it comes to smoothness and speed. Symbian also had very powerful multitasking, so you could switch between applications and they would stay alive in the background, something that we take for granted on today's very powerful devices. Symbian also gave you the ability to set different profiles based on the occasion, and each one of them will have a different ringtone, different volume, a haptic engine enabled or not, vibration enabled or not, and so on. And they were fully customizable as well. And you could even add your own profiles if you want. Symbian also gave you the ability to set themes and install third-party themes natively, something still not available on Android One. Symbian also had a very strong suite of productivity applications that were built in, including free turn-by-turn navigation, a video editor, an Adobe Reader, a photo editor, and so on. And it also had a fully fledged file manager. Alright, so let's cover some of the issues that the N8 had for its time. At launch, Symbian 3 was quite buggy, sadly. The built-in browser was by far considered the worst aspect of owning a Symbian device. It was just buggy, laggy, slow, and unresponsive. The user experience wasn't as smooth as Android or iOS, sadly, and that includes scrolling, pinch to zoom, and so on. Because Symbian doesn't need top-end hardware to run really well, Nokia didn't use top-end hardware, so for its time it wasn't considered a very competitive device on paper. At launch you could only type on a T9 keyboard when you were using the device in a portrait orientation. So in order to get a QWERTY keyboard you needed to go to landscape mode. This was of course later fixed with Symbian Belle. The App Store didn't have as many apps as Android and iOS, and it was considered a real weak point for Symbian at that time. So the apps would be developed first for iOS and then for Android, and Symbian sometimes didn't get the app at all. All in all, the Nokia N8 was a big step in the right direction for Nokia, but still not brave enough to combat iOS and Android devices. It still suffered from the Symbian touchscreen legacy and didn't manage to improve the Symbian reputation, sadly. This is in spite of packing superb hardware that was also very feature-rich. Anyways, that's it from me. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to share, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.